You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's predict how Syracuse and Cal is going to go on Saturday. Let's do it, okay? First of all, I want to say this. I really hope that Fran Brown is going to be able to shower with soap this week. And if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, well, it's his press conference on Monday when he essentially said that he does not shower after Syracuse football loses games. So hopefully Fran Brown can take a shower this week. It would be very nice because that means that Syracuse football wins. That being said, I just read it in the promo that Syracuse football is a pretty big underdog in this one. FanDuel has them as an 8.5-point road underdog at the Cal Golden Bears this Saturday at 3 o'clock. 8.5 points. In my opinion, I think that Cal deserves to be favored. First of all, they're at home. Syracuse is traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast. Cal's a good team. 8.5 seems like a little much. I know that they're usually right, but 8.5. That would mean on a neutral site that Cal would be a 5.5-point favorite, and it would mean that if Syracuse actually hosted Cal this week, they'd be a field goal underdog still. But Cal does deserve to be favored. I think the line is just a little bit off. I'd probably put it at 5.5, but that's neither here nor there. I think this game is going to come down to how much you trust Syracuse's defense. I really do. Because I talked about how vaunted the Cal defense can be, but aside from the Pitt game for Syracuse, they've been able to score a respectable amount of points against everyone else. Aside from the Pitt game was a total disaster for Syracuse. Total disaster. But every other opponent they have faced this season, they have put up a respectable total at minimum on offense. We have seen the ceiling of this offense. We've also seen the floor of this offense, but for the most part, they will put up a respectable total on pretty much anyone. And respectable means at least 20. At least 20 against everyone. This isn't necessarily the game that I think Syracuse is going to put up 30 plus. I really don't see that happening. So it's going to come down to whether or not you trust the Syracuse football defense. I also think that this matchup is weird because Syracuse is a team that does not generate a lot of pressure, which doesn't bode well for them because Cal's offensive line, as I mentioned at the top, is very, very weak. That might be the weakest part of their team, is their offensive line. Syracuse football doesn't generate a lot of pressure. So is that something they can really take advantage of? However, Syracuse football also can't stop the run for a lick. They can't. But Cal all season hasn't been able to run the football. So it's the team's strengths and weaknesses. It's not like you can say, oh, Cal has a weakness on their offensive line and Syracuse does a really good job of generating pressure. That could be a mismatch there. And it also goes with Syracuse's run defense. Our run defense isn't very good, but Cal's rush offense isn't very good. It's like weakness versus weakness, weakness versus weakness. But overall, it's not like I trust this defense all that much. I do think Syracuse is going to cover in this one, but I don't think they're going to win. I'm going to pick against Syracuse for the second time on this podcast. I picked against them against Virginia Tech. It actually went quite well. But I have to be honest. I'm going to pick Cal in this one to win on a last-second field goal to break our hearts, 27-24. Leave a comment in the comment section below your thoughts on this game and your score prediction. Do you think that Syracuse football is going to pull off the road upset this Saturday against Cal? I would love to hear your thoughts. And please, if you're a Syracuse fan, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why Syracuse is going to win, because I would love to hear your reasoning behind that. Hopefully, they can get a bounce-back victory. It's not a game I would say is impossible for Syracuse to win. Like, I have this game being very close. They can pull off the upset here, but I'm going to pick the team that is favored in Cal to win at home 27-24.